I'm Ginny Carter, a senior vice president with A.L. Williams. In fact, I was one of the original 7 RVPs who helped start the company with art.
As I look back at the history of A.L. Williams, I will always believe that Ginny Carter was our most courageous person. I didn't know anybody like her. She was just unbelievable.
And I had only been with art a brief time when I realized that finally here was someone with whom I could work, give my best efforts, and know that I would be rewarded just as well, even in spite of being a female. The first time, I believe, in many years that I've spent in the background with sales and sales management, that I could discover that there would be no discrimination in this company based on any outside factor.
You know, when I think of Ginny, you know, I could just cry. Ginny and I spent a number of hours. I wanted her to understand the risk of giving up what she had at Waddell & Reed, the previous company we were with before we started A.L. Williams. Ginny was making $75,000 a year, which is equivalent to $317,000 today with all her expenses to pay. And Ginny was a single mom with 4 kids at home. And when I thought about her leaving, you know, that position of comfort and stability in her life to risk it all in A.L. Williams, I mean, I just had my doubts. It just tore me up.
Jenny, you were talking about, I forgot all about this, but when we got going, you know, we didn't even have enough dadgum apps and bank draft forms, all that. Tell us about what you were saying last night.
We were using apps that weren't even for financial assurance, you know, when we first went to work with them. And you know, you'd get people over in my den. My house was the closest to where we were trying to operate from. And so you were, Bobby, talking about how hard you worked. That's the truth. We would just run them into you, one after another. Hank Richard, Bob Daniel, Art Burgess, Bill Around, everybody that we wanted to bring with us and all the great people that were around. And you'd get on the phone and you'd be talking to Bill Adkins in Kansas City. Bill, we got to have those applications. Ken, it's going to be the greatest thing you've ever seen. This is ready for us, boys. We're going to make a fortune.
They were first apps we used old Continental Bankers where we had to scratch out the name, you know, like financial insurance. And we actually paid a fine, you know, for something like that.
When you think of Ginny's most important contribution, I think she's not just been a leader for the company, but she opened the door, I think, for a lot of women in this country to see an opportunity for them to do something that they could never dream of doing in most corporations. And I think she's been a real pathfinder, and as far as that's concerned. And she's been not only a great leader and a great success story as far as women in business, but she's been tough, competitive, but she's also done it with style and with grace. And she's been a lady all the way.
And every time I read a company magazine or pick up a bulletin, I find women at the top in all the categories.
When I look at Ginny, and when I think of Ginny, you know who I think of? Margaret Thatcher, the Iron Lady, tough as nails, wouldn't take anything off of anybody. I'll never forget that first day kind of going in there and seeing Ginny and Frank and some of the people there, and I thought, not sure these were our kind of folks, because we were just a bunch of coaches, right? And they were more professional financial services agents kind of thing. Maybe I was 30, you know. Ginny was probably already in her 50s. So yeah, some of us, you know, looked at that as sort of, yeah, you know, we don't, this older lady, we, you know, but then when we saw what she was made of, we realized that she was ferocious, tenacious. Man, if I was in a foxhole and I couldn't get any of these other guys to join me, I'd want Ginny in there with me, because she would take no prisoners. I remember her saying, you know, I'll be here long after the suits are gone. And of course she was.
I think one of the greatest things about Ginny Carter is when she got up and gave a speech, and I think she was 89 or 90 years old, and said she's put her 20-year game plan together. And what that did for me is, look, you're never too old. As long as you have one person that you can make a difference with and you can change and maybe you can help. And Ginny was the ultimate person to the day that she passed away of making a difference in people's lives.
Ginny wanted to be somebody. You know, Ginny was a tall lady and she was a real athlete in college. She was a great tennis player and a great swimmer, a really great competitor. And she wanted to be somebody. She wanted to be somebody so dadgum bad it just ate her up inside.
The responsibility of having 4 babies at home And how do you field train with 4 babies at home? How do you do that? How do you do that? How do you run a fast start school? How do you do all those kind of things and have 4 kids at home, and then you gotta do everything you're supposed to in A.L. Williams, and then you gotta go home and cook meals and clean up and do laundry, and how you do it? I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. But because I saw people like Ginny Carter do it, then it said, Art, you can do it.
She was the first female division manager, you know, in Waddell and Reed. I had the privilege of promoting her to that level. Ginny was the first female in A.L. Williams that earned over $1 million a year. Ginny was the first female NSD in A.L. Williams. Look at the size business she built. 181 RVPs, 23 SVPs, 16 NSDs, 6 SNSDs. She had a business in 27 states, plus Canada. Ginny was earning $1.5 million, again, which is equivalent to $3 million today. Ginny had an annual payroll in her business of $32 million a year. 10 years, $320 million. And when Ginny died, she left a business worth over $1 billion.